Donald Trump has been in France for the G7 summit, and as you can imagine, he has been as cantankerous as you could expect him to be among our allies. And one of the issues that he brought up was the fact that Russia is no longer part of this annual event. Now, Russia used to be part of this annual event until the annexation of Crimea happened in Ukraine. Trump argued strenuously that Vladimir Putin should be invited or re-invited back 5 years after Russia was rejected from the then G8 for its annexation of Crimea. Now, he makes the argument in the next clip. Let's take a quick look.
I mean, a lot of people are smart. A lot of people say having Russia, which is a power, having them inside the room is better than having them outside the room. If I wanted to go strictly by politics, I'd probably poll that, and possibly I'd say, oh, gee, I don't want Russia in. But I really think it's good for security of the world. It's good for the economics of the world. Remember, they're building a big pipeline in Europe, going right up to Germany. And I said to Angela, who I had a great relationship, but I said, you pay Russia billions of dollars, and then we defend you from Russia. And I say, how does that work?
Okay, so he wants to put them back in the G7 for no apparent reason. Now, no one has investigated his business ties to Russia. Mueller did not do that at all, at all. He thought it was outside of what he was asked to look into. He was asked to look into the election, so he looked only at the election. There's this giant business ties with Russia just looming there. Both of Donald Trump's sons have said, we got all our money from the Russians for the golf courses. So does he owe them something? Nope. No idiot Democrat wants to look into it. They're still, playing patty cakes with him. They won't even take his New York State taxes, which New York has offered to Richard Neal. And Richard Neal, the head of the Ways and Means Committee in the House, won't take it. Pelosi doesn't want it. So nobody's investigating him, it's outrageous. Now, the right wing, I get. I don't even want to bother talking about MAGA. Oh, you're bringing Russia is awesome, that's strategic, is brilliant. Okay, whatever. So now let's address the portion of the left wing that I disagree with, to say the least. Really, you're gonna make an argument that he wants to bring Russia back into the G7 because he really cares about geopolitical circumstances in the world and thinks that it'll lead to more international stability if Russia is in. You really want to die on that hill? That Trump is doing this based on principles that he has about geopolitics? And then you just heard him say he knows it's not popular, but he wants to do it anyway. When's the last time Donald Trump did something that didn't benefit him personally, that would hurt him politically?
Yeah, that's a great point. Look, I don't know if this type of behavior would hurt him politically with his base, but I will say, look, there are two separate issues. First off, what motivates Trump? Why is it that he decided to bring Russia up? I do not buy for a second that he cares about geopolitical politics. I don't believe for a second he has any strategy in mind. However, if you just take Trump and his ties to Russia completely out of it and think about it in a non-Trump context, I do think that Russia should have a seat at the table.
No.
You don't?
No.
I think it's important to have them be part.
Not in this.
Not to, listen, not to negotiate with Putin and concede to what he wants, but I do think that it is a significant power in geopolitical politics, and I think it's important to apply pressure both diplomatically and through other means like sanctions. Okay, so tell me why you disagree with that.
So first of all, on the substance, I'm not with the mainstream Democrats who are like, oh, Russia's the boogeyman and we should start conflicts, and them doing the election interfering is tantamount to war. That's crazy talk, okay? I want stability with Russia. I don't want any conflict. I don't want to start any new wars, etc. But that doesn't mean they have to be in the G7. So they annexed Crimea, they still have troops in eastern parts of Ukraine. If you allow them back in the G7, it rewards their aggressive military tactics, which would cause them to potentially do more aggressive military tactics in other countries that actually destabilizes the world. It doesn't mean they're not in the United Nations. It doesn't mean you should never work with them. It does, but we don't have to let them into NATO. And we don't have to let them into G7. They were ejected from G8 for very good reason. And this is not a conservative position to bring the Russians back in. Even Boris Johnson from the UK is like, no, we don't want the Russians.
I know, it is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so Almost no one backs Trump on this. He's all alone because there is no principled position. There is no conservative position. There's certainly no progressive position that supports it. All there is Trump going, Vlad, what do you need? What do you need? So look, we could argue about this till the cows come home, and I know I'm never going to convince that portion of the left wing that is, they think I lost my mind on it. Fine, whatever. I think you've lost your mind completely and utterly. You become so biased on that issue that you're not open to new facts. So when Trump out of the blue comes in and goes, I need Russia back in the G7. I need it right now, even though it's going to hurt me politically, but that's okay. I really want it. Why? Because I care about world civility and less conflicts, and I really care about this because of the pipeline, which I've criticized before in Germany. Really?
Okay.
Really? Okay. You don't believe that.
Hold on.
Look, and I'll even address it. Look, I'm not questioning your intelligence because I know Glenn Greenwald is really smart. I know a lot of guys on that side are really smart. But like, Glenn, you don't believe that. You know you don't believe that. Saying that is ridiculous.
Okay, wait, there's one other thing that I want to pose, and I want to get your thoughts on it because I think this is also a possibility. So I agree with you. Again, I just want to repeat that Trump doesn't care about geopolitical politics. I'd be shocked if he ever thought about it for a single second. However, what we do know is that Trump is motivated by his money and also
that he owes the Russians.
Hold on, money, and there's one other thing that Trump is motivated by, and that's flattery. He likes to be around individuals who are complimentary toward him. And he has done such a great job at demonizing our longstanding allies, members of the G7, that maybe there's a possibility he wants Vladimir Putin to be part of these meetings again, these annual meetings, because he knows that Putin is gonna tell him all the lovely, fluffy things that he wants to hear about himself.
But even that's not true. Because if you've noticed, Putin actually has barely said anything about Trump. Unlike Kim Jong-un and other leaders that have gone around kissing Trump's ass, at least verbally, while doing other things in the background, Putin hasn't done that. It's not like Putin in the press conferences goes, I believe US intelligence rather than Russian intelligence. I think Donald Trump's a great leader. He hasn't said any of that. He just comes to the press conferences, goes, Trump, heel. And Trump goes, yes, I believe the Russians instead of my own government. Yes, Vladimir is a wonderful, strong leader. You need strength, he's very strong, right? So Reek comes in and bows, but I've never seen Putin bow. I've never seen him give like big compliments to Donald Trump.
Well, look, I think that he's been very friendly with Donald Trump publicly when they have met and when they've done like joint press conferences. But one other thing is, remember, they've had a number of private meetings. Now, of course, why do they want those meetings private without any US officials part of it, without any transcript or any record of those meetings? They could be, talking about some of their shady deals or whatever.
100%.
But look, I just think that Trump has this affinity toward dictatorial regimes. I think that he loves authoritarians. I think that he sees authoritarians and he feels this connection. There's like a love connection.
Nonsense.
It's happened with Duterte, it's happened with Bolsonaro in Brazil. Look, I'm giving you all the possibilities. I know, I get it. I'm giving you all the possibilities. And don't get me wrong, I don't deny that there are some business deals going on behind the scenes that should be investigated.
Okay.
With that said, I do think that if you do care about geopolitical issues, applying pressure through economic means and sanctions is great, and I would lean in that direction. But I want Russia to be part of the conversation and apply pressure that way as well. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So look, there's dictators he doesn't like. I agree with you, he likes authoritarian dictators that are on his side, but he doesn't seem to like the Iranian leaders. He doesn't seem to like Maduro, so he's pretty selective about the dictators that he likes. Right, and well, you could argue about whether Maduro is a dictator or not, but certainly Trump thinks so. So there's 50 other dictators in the world that he doesn't love.
He wants Venezuelan oil also. Like his business
it's
interests.
always about the money. Okay, last thing, guys. You can think anything you like, but you're wrong. Okay, so
Jesus.
No, you are, and so I don't care, and you can cry about it all day long too. So the reality is, you're ignoring obvious things. He goes in to meet with the Russian leader without an American translator, let alone any American government official. Like you can go and be like, oh, that once happened in 1837 as well, when there were no translators. Anyway, okay, so I'm having fun there. But overall, like they're like, oh, maybe that happened once or twice before. That's not even true. But you're trying to find excuses. His sons say we got all the money from the Russians. He does almost everything on behalf of the Russians, including weird, out of the blue things like, yeah, let's put them back in the G7 when no one else, not even any other conservative agrees with that, okay? And then on top of that, he goes has secret meetings with Putin where he doesn't want any American to hear what they're talking about. The answer is super obvious.
Okay.
He has business ties with the Russians, they have leverage over him, and they tell him what to do. If you want to cry about that, go cry somewhere else. Oh, no way, I think Trump is really honest about Putin. He's dishonest about everything else, but he's really honest about beloved Putin and Russia. I think you're crazy for thinking that.
I have to mention one other thing. I would feel terrible if I didn't, so I'm gonna do it right now. Look, there was the foreign minister of Iran who is not, look, Iran is not part of the G7. However, Zarif, who's the foreign minister of Iran, was invited as a guest. And so I don't know, is there a possibility that having an Iranian presence there upset him to the point where he's like, well, if Iran gets to be here, then Russia gets to be here too. I'm just putting that out there too.
No way, he planned this long ago. And of course, guys, you're trying so hard not to see the obvious.
I'm giving you the details.
Russians own him. I can't wait to have any kind of power where we can prove that out, okay? So you can't say it based on this, obviously, like I'm not saying, I can say it all day long. I'm not gonna put somebody in prison over our assumptions, no matter how obvious they might be. But will a goddamn prosecutor look into his business ties with Russia? What is wrong with you guys? It's the most obvious thing in the world. And don't tell me they've looked into it, because they haven't. Show me the case where they looked into it. You don't have it. You just go, oh, but they look into it, so he must be guilty, he must be innocent. And if you're on the so-called left and you keep insisting and screaming from the rooftop how innocent Donald Trump is, even though you know they haven't looked into his business ties with Russia, what's your motivation? And I think your motivation is that you dug a hole too deep and you can't get out. So you've surrounded yourself with your own bias and you're like, nope, nope, nope. Trump is totally innocent on Russia, totally innocent. No, I don't want to see his business ties. I don't want to see the hundreds of millions of dollars he took. And I don't want to talk about whether he might be biased about money and his own personal interest. He is on everything else, but not this one. On this one, he's pristine. Okay, well, have at it, Hoss. Make that argument and get mad at me, but you're wrong and I'm right. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.